All right, welcome back to episode 30. You put me on the spot here, 32 or 33 of the Winnipeg Weight Loss Show. Special guest today is actually a member of our program, Anthony Greco. I believe I pronounced that right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grex is how I always see it, but I know it's Greco officially. So
Yes.
welcome, Anthony, and we're excited to have you on the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and I think we need to start from a recent milestone you achieved because I think it'll kind of put things in perspective for you. Like 400 workouts strong, you're coming up on maybe 2 years in the program. Like
Yeah.
consistency compounds, you're living proof of that. So maybe
Yeah. I
speak
never imagined that I would be here.
to
I
that.
didn't think it would go beyond 3 months, but 2 years
Yeah.
later, still doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We realize when we get into this that it's generally not just the 3 month and done process to truly change and adopt a new identity and not only lose fat but build muscle. And you've kind of been in the thick of those transitions. So maybe talk to the initial skepticism if you had any, and maybe the main benefits you've gotten
Yeah.
since joining.
Well, if I go all the way back to 2 years ago, I think I was ready to start your program a good year before I actually started.
Yeah.
And there were three main factors that contributed to me wanting to make the change. One being I just had some bad habits that I wanted to eliminate or lessen in my life. Things like late night snacking. I was notorious for going to the pantry, grabbing a Tupperware of chips before bed, which affected my sleep. Um, Also, like late night scrolling on my phone or watching TV, not really having a proper bedtime routine. And that's
Mm.
something that I really wanted to adopt. Even things like going for a drink with a friend, but that turned into two drinks. Something happened once I turned 35, and if I had three drinks, I'd be up at 3 o'clock a.m. or 4. And once I wake up, there's no going back. So
Mm.
I wanted to eliminate that. I also wanted to have more energy. I I think since being on your program, I realized that I never really was eating properly or nutritiously. I wasn't eating enough calories, and I was always exhausted, relying on coffee. I was having 5 cups a day, and I was a new father as well. So I wanted to have as much energy as possible for my son, for my wife, and and I know all parents say that when you have kids, your energy levels go down a little bit, or you don't have enough time for yourself. But I wanted to just beat that,
Mm.
and and it was difficult. But but yeah, that was another thing. And then I think the main one was during COVID. I actually was probably one of the few people that lost a lot of weight. And I think I was down to 157 pounds.
Mhm.
I didn't look healthy. I definitely didn't feel healthy. And I remember my wife and I went to a cabin weekend with some friends, and we were all going for a dip in the lake. And I remember going to the washroom, putting my swim trunks on, running on maybe 4 or 5 hours sleep. I was eating terribly the night before. I felt just horribly. And then I looked in the mirror and I was like, "This is it. I can't do this." And I went to the room that my wife and I were in, and I said, "Tomorrow, this is it. No turning back. We're joining Mitch, and we're doing it." And yeah, she's been my biggest support. And she said, "Do it. Like, what do you have to lose?" And this isn't the first time that she's heard me say that, because I've been saying that every few weeks over that year. So yeah, I jumped on, and no turning back.
That's awesome. Yeah, you hit the nail on a lot of heads there. I mean, we sell weight loss because that's what people seem to be driven by, but it's a better life.
Yeah.
That's the true prize, and the energy and just feeling better about yourself. I think you hold the record for the most compliments from other dudes that you've had like given to you over the course of the last few years, which is all nice. I mean,
Yeah, it's good to hear. But I think, like, when I look at my progress now, or what I'm doing now compared to what I've done going to the gym my whole life, it's always been about how I looked. I wanted to look better. I wanted to be toned, I wanted to fit. But now joining your program, it was more about the energy,
mm,
and just the compliments, and just how I feel about the way I look is just an added bonus.
oh, 100%. Yeah, he's certainly gotten significant physical results, but yeah, what I've noticed right away is just how you kind of adopted a new identity and you've shifted these habits, and over time that becomes just what you do, right? You're at that point where you're not stressing about doing the wrong things because it's more stressful to miss doing the right things. You know how you feel when you do it. Was there any results that you didn't expect that came out of this that can come to the top of your head?
Well, I think that, well, what I thought was actually going to be the most challenging part of the program actually became the easiest. And I didn't expect that. Like things that are so simple, like getting to the gym 4 days a week, measuring my food, plugging it into the MyFitnessPal app. Like I thought that would be tedious, and I thought, how can this be sustainable for me? How am I going to keep doing this? And that actually became the easiest part. What became the most difficult part was trusting once my goals changed, trusting the process, looking in the mirror, or even like doing my measurements every month and not seeing a big jump in my measurements. Sometimes I could get a little bit discouraged. So I didn't expect that, but I'm still working on that.
Yeah, that's a good takeaway too, because you shifted into more of a muscle building focus. Like that's just for context for those tuning in. It's harder to see the week to week, month to month changes because the scale is probably going up. You're holding more water and it's masking the muscle gain you're having. And sometimes you'll take a step back despite doing the right things. And it's about continuing to show up over the long haul. That compound interest effect, that's very subtle, but pronounced once you look back, at your time 2 years ago, you look at your photos now, there's some real muscle on your frame, significant changes that way. And the health benefits are just icing on the cake. Awesome. So how has your life changed beyond, more compliments, physically different? Is there anything else that's really jumped out?
It's the energy levels. It always goes back to that, or comes back to that. My day starts at around, I try my best to start around 5:45, get to the gym. So I'm waking up earlier. I'm going to bed going to bed earlier. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think that I would be able to keep that going. But it actually was the best time for me to go to the gym to optimize my family time, because by the time I come home, my family's just waking up. And so I feel like I kind of beat that time. And then my wife and I were both teachers. We work till about 3:30, but we stay at work till about 4:30, 5. And by the time we pick up our son at daycare and come home, make dinner, there's only a few hours left of family time. Mm-hmm. And for me, that time's non-negotiable. So that's my time with my family. That's not a time for the gym. And so just kind of creating that routine, that's been a big change in my life, but it was a positive change, because going in the morning, beating that time, feeling great at work, and I'm on 100% of the time at work. There's no time to be tired. Drinking less coffee, believe it or not, and I still have energy in the evening.
Yeah, you get that quick win to start the day, and you touched on it. The energy that comes from that workout. Most people are grumpy, responding to the day late because they woke or they hit their snooze button, and you're already kind of got an hour or two head start. Yeah, there's something to that. There's some magic to that. Okay, well, any last words of advice for someone that might be in your former shoes, that looks in the mirror, says, I should do something, keeps pushing it off? How did you eventually take that leap and not turn back? Because I think that's what people struggle with.
Well, I think, especially for new parents, it's not about you anymore. It's about your kids. You want to be here for your kids. You want to be as healthy for your family. And I know for me, for my son, I want him to be inspired by all of this. I want him to know that having a good mental health and good physical health are essential for living a quality lifestyle. And I want him to grow up hearing me talking about my mental and physical health, so that when he gets older, he'll just be doing it. When I was growing up, I didn't really have a whole lot of that. And so I'm kind of late in the game for all of that. But I think if you're a parent, or if you're just thinking about doing it, my wife says, just try it. At least you tried it. I mean, you got nothing to lose, right? And then I often think, when I see younger people at the gym that are jacked, I'm good for you guys, because that's the time to do it, because that's a bit easier. When you're getting older, it's a little bit more challenging. And then when I go to the gym and I see people that are my age or even 20 years older than me, and they're doing it, I'm thinking, hey, those are people that keep promises to themselves. Those are people that make their health a priority. And those are the people that you really want to align yourself with. People that are
Mm.
like-minded people that want to make a change in their life. So if you're on the fence, just try it. I mean, if it's for you, great. What's the worst that can happen? You get help.
Yeah. Yeah, worst case, you just end up back where you started anyway, right? So there you go. I love it. Yeah, especially the takeaway on the kids because they're not going to often listen to what we say, especially if we're not practicing what we preach. But they definitely model our actions, and you see it all the time with kids just exercising automatically because their parents do it, you know. And it's not selfless. It's probably the most, yeah, it's the most selfless thing you can do, frankly, as long as it doesn't cut into family time. But it doesn't need to, and that's kind of what you touched on. Is
Yeah.
working smarter, blocking it into your calendar, and not having to interfere with that important time in the evening.
Yeah, and
Love it.
everyone's different. Just find a time that works for you, and even start small. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started with you, like even like the workouts that you had me doing, I could be done in 40 minutes. I wasn't sweating,
Yeah.
and I was just getting to the gym, trying to stay consistent and just doing it. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Start where you are. Don't try to follow some insane routine you can't stick to. You build up to that as you get stronger and get more adapted. But there certainly is a less is more approach up front. Awesome, Anthony. Any final thoughts? Or we pretty much covered all the bases for you?
you know what? Consistency, moderation, and self-belief. Those are the three things you need in anything you do. And I think that's what I learned the most through this whole process. So
I love it.
I'm on the road to 40 and I'm excited to see what happens in 2 years. So let's do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just make this decade even better than the last. Awesome, sir. I love that. I'm gonna take that quote that you shared at the end as gospel. That works well for our program. Have a good one, man. We'll talk soon.
Take care. All the best.